Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Kobold Chats. My name is Kendrick or Kendo, whichever you prefer, and it is Friday once more, end of our week, the middle of our day, whether you're at home, having lunch, or, maybe you're at work and you're watching this video anyway, and you know what? Thank you so much for being here. I'm not going to tell your boss, and it shouldn't matter as long as you're getting whatever you need to do done. But I get to do what I need to do, Dan, which is talking about one of my favorite things, Tabletop RPGs, Kobold Press, and hanging out with all of you. I hope you all are doing wonderful. This Friday, fall is finally rearing its autumnal head, and it's starting to cool off a little bit. It's been so hot. It's been so hot, and I'm glad it's finally cooling off because I can't deal with it anymore, but I don't have to because fall's on the way. And you know what? Soon after fall is winter, which I only bring up because guess what? The Northlands Kickstarter is still chugging along. We only have 2 more weeks left in the Northlands Kickstarter, so you can go head on over. We've raised almost $200,000. We're sitting at $195,000, thanks to so many of you who are I imagine excited to go out, get your Viking on, and strap on your shields, axes, hop into the longboat, and getting ready to go on some adventures. Because I am too. I hope you've been checking out our scouting party series. We had another episode come out earlier today, I think an hour or two ago, that was talking about all of the new equipment, the new vehicles, the prophecy generator, the omen generator, and the new rating system, which works for both in adventure, during active adventures, and something you can do on your downtime. I'm not going to talk about all right now because you can go watch it over on YouTube. So go check that out at the Kobold Press YouTube. And that's enough talking about all of that stuff, because that's the thing that we're always talking about. Today, I am so lucky to be able to have another interview with one of our Kobold creators. And this one, I think you all are really, I hope you like all of them, but I think you all are really going to like this one, because this is the one Kobold Creates project where someone actually has a sword and is hitting someone else with it. And so please, everybody, join me in welcoming Chuck Goodwin on to the show. Hey, Chuck, how is it going?
Thanks for having me.
Of course. No, thank you so much for being here. I am so I've been watching, in preparation of this, I've been watching some of your videos, and it is, I think, so cool to see this kind of, fun, active, and educational videos all around something that is... it's this thing that we pretend to do a lot, right? In a lot of tabletop RPGs, going around living in the fantasy of being someone who goes around and can protect themselves and help protect others. And it's kind of cool seeing someone who can actually do the stuff that we all fantasize about. So, yeah. So for people who aren't familiar with you, Chuck, or your work, who are you and what do you do?
Sure. So my name is Chuck Goodwin, known also as the Woodchuck Knight. So I participate in a sport called Boohurt or Armored Combat, depending on where in the world you are. And basically, the best description of this is it's MMA in full knight armor with real steel weapons. So we use blunted weapons, it's full contact, and there are different disciplines in the sport. I specialize in particularly the melee, and that's team fighting. So it's 5-on-5, 10-on-10, up to, they've had 50-on-50 matches for display, full-on battles, right? 100-on-100s have happened where we've brought, fighters from a whole bunch of countries together. But in general, what I specialize is the 5-on-5, which is the premier level of melee fighting. And it's team fighting. It's real contact. There's no pulled punches. They're real, full armor we're wearing. And we're wearing steel weapons and really hitting each other. Yeah. It's and I've been doing that now for about 7 years. I've fought all over the United States. I've fought all over the world. I've won the IMCF World Championship now in the men's 5-on-5, and the men's 16 on 16 bracket. So I've won two-time world champion in that sport as well, fighting actually in a castle in Spain for the world championships. So
That's so cool. That's so cool. How did you get into armored combat? Like, what was the impetus of that for you?
yeah, so the funny thing is, I got into armored combat because of board gaming and tabletop role play. So I was actually researching a board game, and I still don't know which one it was. This was now 7 years ago, but I was looking at YouTube instructions. I couldn't figure out how to play this game. I was like, I gotta watch a tutorial on it, and it had something to do with knights or Vikings, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so in the the thumbnails on the side, I saw these videos of people training with spears and like learning. I was like, oh, I just wanted this. I clicked on that. And then the video after that was what used to be called Battle of the Nations. It was an older league out of Russia, and it was a large mass battle. So it was 16 or 20 on 20 of people fighting with real steel and actually. And I was like, this is wild. This is
Right.
real. And I went down a whole rabbit hole, and I was like, this is amazing. And then I started looking around. I said, anything in my area? And I'm in the Northeast in New Hampshire, and so right an hour away from me is one of the top schools in the world, the Knights Hall, which has won multiple world championships, national championships over the years it existed. The oldest school still running in the U.S. So I just called them up, said, hey, I want to come down and learn to do this. And since then, that's been kind of the journey that I started on.
Yeah.
And I've been training and fighting ever since.
That's so cool. I remember back in college, my dorm was right across from like this like park, like this city park that was there, and there was a team of people, and I don't know if they were doing Buhurt, if they were doing HEMA or what it was, but I remember just like every weekend I would specifically go just to like kind of watch, because it's fascinating seeing like all of these people geared up going at it in a way that's like safe, and in a way that like the community that kind of gets built around that is so cool.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating community of fighters and competitors. I mean, the word Buhurt comes out of an old French word, Buherd, which basically means to like strike or wallop. That's what the word means. And it was the term they used for original medieval tournaments. So when you see things like the Knight's Tale and the jousting and all that, like everyone, the jousting you think of when you think of a knight's tournament,
yeah.
those were the introductions to, those were like the opening ceremonies. The real event was the Buhurt melee, where you'd have, all of these knights from all over the countryside and fighting and competing, basically for praise and glory. And they started doing these because there was a series of large wars in Europe. Then they kind of all ended, and you had a bunch of soldiers with nothing to do, and they started causing problems. And so, kings and nobles started holding tournaments and giving out prizes to keep their armies trained, but also kind of keep them in line and give them something to train for.
Right.
And so we have recreated that exact sport now. And, it's essentially the same rule set. Very little has been modified. The one major difference, and I always like telling this story, is that in a melee, the way that you win a match or win a round is you knock the other team to the ground. You knock them. You can hit them hard enough. You can kick them. You can throw them. Whatever it is, and that simulates in real combat when a knight goes to the ground. Someone climbs on top of them, takes a dagger, stabs them, they're dead. Like that kind of simulates that. It's a training aspect.
Yeah.
In these tournaments, the only difference between what we do and they did is when you knock the guy to the ground, you take them, you drag them back to your side, and you ransom them back to their family. And that's how knights made a living, ransoming, because you kind of had these two classes of knights. You had the real men-at-arms soldiers, and you had all the princes and nobles who were just like, I got money, I want to get out there. And so they knock down the noble, drag him back, and be like, you don't know what you're doing. Give me some money if you want your kid back. And that's, so we don't do that. I don't ransom anybody. But other than that, the sport's pretty similar to what it was in the 14 and 1500s.
That's so cool. With that kind of history, like behind it, like in the I guess my question is, in the same way that like some like LARPing or like some even kind of like more performative versions of this, like if I'm thinking of like medieval times, right?
Sure, yeah.
Is there an aspect of like kind of playing into that like kind of fiction of like the kind of like, do you take on like certain names and titles and things of
Yeah,
that
I mean
nature
that's a really
for
good question. I mean, there are aspects and there's different levels of competition. If I'm doing a
right?
local Renaissance fair, it's a show.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it for it's a training for us. We're doing it for fun. I actually have I use at Renaissance fairs. I have a 5.5 foot flamberge two-handed greatsword that I use. Um, because it looks really scary, but it doesn't really hurt very
Mm-hmm.
much because you can't. Oh yeah, one of the you cannot stab. That's one of the rules from before, and
I would
everything has to be
hope.
strike. Stabbing kills, so we can't stab. So it's not. I
Yeah.
mean, a long sword is really made to either cut clean cut cloth and no armor, or stab somebody. We can't stab. So this thing looks scary, and we kind of
Yeah.
use that for like showmanship, right? And many of us have nicknames. Like I said, my nickname is Woodchuck. There's a guy on my team who's, in armor with his big helmet. He's about 6'6", and his name is Paul the Barbarian. Like
Oh,
he has a mask that looks like a human face instead of a regular helmet. So there is a little bit of showmanship. There's people, you get to know people's kits, and I like to use the phrase "named man." Out of the
mm.
Joe Abercrombie series of his series, like the idea that like in the Northmen there were named men. There's men that you know
Yeah.
their name, and there's you'll fight fighters and teams, and you will know that man's name, and that's the guy, right? So the goal
Mm-hmm.
is to be that guy in the
Yeah.
sport. And whenever you step on the field, someone goes, "Oh, I don't want to face off against that guy," right? And you can name, it's just like any sport. You've got those people who are known, and that's kind of the goal. But
Yeah.
it is a team sport, just like everything else. You're working with your teammates. You're trying to, take down the other team, and there's no rules as far as, it's not fair. It's fighting.
Yeah.
So two
Exactly.
on ones are fine. 3-on-1s are fine. Checking someone in the back is fine. Like, it's all part of the idea that this is a real melee. It's a swirl of battle, and trying to replicate that and survive it.
Yeah. This this is so cool, and I love the um uh, both the pageantry behind it, right? Of like the armor and like and we can talk about like how you've put together like your armor and
Sure.
stuff like later, but like I love this performance of history that is also like very very like you all have um like a sportsman-like culture around it, despite the fact
Yes.
that it is, hey, we are simulating this combat that would normally be to the death.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, it's really interesting to me coming into this. I came from a very sport background.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm very interested in history, but I'm not focused on the history. I like the competitive sport of it.
Yeah.
And you will run into people all the time who are like, "Well, that's not chivalrous, and that's not how knights fought." And I go, "No, this is really what combat. As much as
Would
you
have
can simulate
been.
without, there's a brutality to it. There's a reality to it, right? Like, and at the end of the day, we're all friends. When I fight another team, and the goal we'll say a lot. The goal of the sport is hurt, not injured,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I want to hurt the other guy on the other side, so he doesn't want to fight me. I want him to go home to his family, to or go home to work the next day. So we care about each other no matter who we're fighting, but we are competing.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the reality of that grindiness. And as you do this sport, if you compete at different places, like conditions change.
Mm-hmm.
I fought in a tournament last year where we had pouring rain for 2 days. So you were fighting in
In the
literal
mud.
mud, like
Yeah.
just it started as grass, and by the end of the tournament, you could barely walk, and it was like, wow, the conditions became the enemy, not the other team, right? Like, could you stand up? Could you,
Mm-hmm.
control, and that so this idea of like, it's very very real when you're in there. When you step into that we call it a list, that wooden square. You step into the list, you
Mm-hmm.
go, oh, for that time, everything doesn't matter except what's happening in that space, and that becomes your world.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. We have a quick question from one of our audience members. Once you've trained in using armor and weapons, how easy or hard is it for you to move around, or how constricting is it actually?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, um, the armor kits weigh, and again, they're very based on how you have your own kit set up, anywhere from 50 to 100 pounds, right? Mine's about 65 now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's heavy. But the reality is, there's a reason that knights wore these for hundreds of years until guns pretty much made it obsolete. They work.
Mm-hmm.
I can move just fine in armor. I've got, I'm a big man who's not as flexible, so I move just as good as I do in and out of armor. But my teammate, my partner Dustin, I mean, he does cartwheels and handstands while he's walking around in this stuff, right? So, like, yeah, it's gonna weigh you down. It's exhausting. Um, but there is real full fluidity and movement. And most of the training we do, we don't train very often in armor at my school. We train out of it. One, it takes a while to put it on, and you can beat it up more, you have to repair more. So we do a lot of it out of kit training. We call it soft kit foam gear, but it's mostly like things like judo, Mongolian wrestling, Muay Thai. We do a lot of different skills in pulling it into that.
Yeah.
Because it's the same striking techniques as you do that. You just have to adapt it to being in armor.
Yeah. That's so cool. And like talking about like all the different styles that you've had to learn, it seems like a very multidisciplinary of like take whatever tool you can that will give you.
I mean, the thing that I've learned in my years of doing this, and this will go against some people who are very like, again, we talk about more HEMA, historical European martial arts. Their goals are different. Their goal is to replicate the historical manuscripts that they have available and learn from those. We're more of a sport. We're going to use whatever is available, and that's the priority, right?
Yeah.
So the reality is the human body only moves in so many ways. So, something that they developed in Muay Thai, someone in judo also has some tools in it. So we're pulling those pieces to adapt it to what works in our rule set of our sport. And that's, so we study from everything. I take from everything that we find that works, and we test it, and we live play test it and say, does this work?
Yeah.
Right. And as the sport's evolved over the years, we've had metas that have worked for a while, then someone figures out a counter to it, and all of a sudden that's not working anymore, right? It is an evolving sport still. We are bringing back something that existed for a very long time that, this sport's only really about 20 years old, reborn, and really 15 at a level that's been like worldwide trained, right? So maybe a little more than that. I'm not good at the dates, but it's not that old. So we're still discovering things that change the way it works, right?
Yeah.
And finding teams come out with new strategies, because it's all teamwork. You think about like basketball, somebody invented the pick and roll, and suddenly that changed the game, right? Like we're in that phase of discovery where plays and strategies and weapon mixes are being tried out, and then people are using that live to test it against each other, right? Well, also hoping fighting the best athletes we can find at this.
That's so cool. I love this. I want to talk more about this, but I would also love to know, because you said that you originally got into this because you were doing some research for a board game, and you had already been into like board games and TTRPGs before then. Yep. How do these two aspects kind of overlap in your life now? Do you still play a lot of TTRPGs? Does that inform things that you try?
It's a great question. So, I mean, one of the fascinating things for me is I don't think there's a hobby that is not just actually TTRPG that has more TTRPG players in it, right? Everyone I know has participated in this at some level, either actively playing, learning, getting into it, and to the point that at my school, we literally have a game room attached to the training room.
Oh, that's so cool.
My trainer, Jay Brooks, who founded the school, his character, like his actual fighting character, is a character in one of the original D&D books, right? Because like he was modeled after. So like there's so much overlap, because you can think about it, the people who are drawn to this are drawn for a few reasons, but one of the big ones is we all want to be knights. We all want to be warriors. We all want to fantasize and play that, and you get to do that in different ways. One is physically real, but one is also in the storytelling and playing of the game, and it really does overlap. I was actually on a call today with a Scandinavian podcaster who's designing for his own set. He's designing a new rule set for how to use shields, and a new rule set for shield play. In his mind, shields don't get enough attention in TTRPGs, and we were having a call about all the ways that I use shields in real fighting, so he could modify the modifiers to be like, okay, how would a punch shield work versus a kite shield, and what would the advantages be? And like, so I think there's that kind of almost being able to use some of the things and get that feel for it. And I think it makes you a better storyteller, at least in the physical space. Like, I know what it's like to face someone with an axe and feel that fear and also feel that adrenaline. I know. So when you're telling that and you're going, oh, you face off against, a party of goblins, like, okay, how would that feel? Right? How do you describe that? And I think that helps you kind of be a better storyteller too.
That's
Well,
really
having to understand it's
interesting.
fantasy and fun, and in the rules always rule of cool, right? Like make it better, make it a better story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely overlaps.
Yeah, no, I mean, I that's kind of what I was thinking as well. When you're like, I imagine any description from you about being in combat probably feels way more in that moment and way more grounded in the feeling of what does it feel like to be fighting for your life amid a group of people with like with your team. And so I mean, that's super cool. I love the I love the idea of that kind of crossover between game design and like the feeling of actually like and going to like, hey, you've used the shield before. How would you like? How would you actually describe how you would do this? And like trying to find a way that that works mechanically. I
Yeah,
was
it's really interesting.
Yeah, I was watching a video the other day of someone describing a punch, like showing off like a punch.
Yeah, I've got mine here actually. I've got the Kobold Press one that I have.
Ooh,
So this
oh,
is the Kobold Press shield that I wear. So basically, depending on the tournament I'm in,
yeah,
some of them are historical based. I can't use modern logos, even this, which is very cool. It's very like medieval-esque, but I can't use it. But even when I don't, I get to use this front shield. I bring the Kobold Press shield and kind of how it functions in using that shield. So we call it a punch shield because it's primarily for punching. That's why I have it, right? Like it's
right,
an extension of my arm, which lets me punch hard.
yeah,
Yeah, I block with it, but I'm not going with a massive blocking shield. They have different values and different reasons for being used.
yeah, and that's yeah, and those are all things that you could really like. I feel like a lot of people designing games end up losing out on because they don't have that kind of experience. They've never
Yeah.
actually been in armor fighting and being like, how do I use all of these things that I have on me?
Yeah, one of the fascinating things for me that I've been reflecting on too, the difference between like fighting out of armor and fighting in armor is like in armor, you really kind of do have hit points, right? You have
Oh,
an amount of exhaustion and damage and hits that you can take, right? Like,
yeah,
and some people have higher constitution than others. Some people can have a higher con score and they can last longer. But when you're, that's the idea of like, the one thing, of course, that any tabletop game has that is like, you don't get in a fight and get stabbed and you die because that's, that wouldn't be any fun. No one wants that. They want to
no,
have, a story with it. You get so many hit points, you get so many things. And when you're fighting in armor, you kind of feel like that. Like,
mm-hmm.
if you get pinned by 2 or 3 guys who are chopping with you an axe, you start going, wow, this is getting worse and worse and worse. And then you go, oh, suddenly I'm out. Like I'm exhausted, right?
Yeah,
And you feel that when you're hitting at someone, sometimes you're swinging at a guy and you're going, I don't think I'm getting through his armor. Like, I think this guy's tough. Like, I think it's going to be, somebody hit a guy and go, well, that guy, I think he might be a squishy wizard in real life, like so you kind of feel that difference when you're playing it.
yeah, wow, that's fascinating. It's something I never would have. You don't think about again if you're not in that situation. The fact that yeah, you can take hits in armor, but you can only do so much before your body, the physical limits
Yeah.
of your body, actually
Yeah.
hits a wall.
One of the fascinating things about armor is that your body doesn't know it's wearing it. So what I mean by that is if you hit somebody hard enough in the ribs in armor, their body will shut down. It'll sit down.
Yeah.
And they're not actually injured usually. Usually it's enough of a force your body goes, that must have broke something.
Mm.
And it kind of shuts you off. And then 5 minutes later, you're up and you're pretty good. You're okay. You can keep going in that tournament.
Yeah.
So this idea that you have it protects you, but it doesn't trick your brain and not, you kind of trick your brain into not realizing, oh, I'm wearing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you go through a tournament, some tournaments are 2 to 3, even 4 days of the World Championship, right? Like those hits accumulate, right? That
Yeah.
feeling accumulates. That and we joke about all the time the idea of like you get this long rest. You need a long rest, right? Like you finish a day and you go back to your hotel room, you sit in an ice tub for a while, you go to bed and you go, that's what I'm doing today because I've got to do this thing tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And it really is like it's funny. It's like, oh, you couldn't recover in 8 hours. It's like we kind of do, and then we come back and do it again. And by the end of 4 days, you go, man, I'm gonna need a couple weeks when I get home. But like, yeah.
That's fascinating, and it's I mean, I could sit here and talk with you all day just about stories of like, I mean, I guess there not too long ago you had a fight where you sent us the pictures with you and the Kobold Press Shield. What is a typical like? What do one of these fights look like from your perspective, or I guess not what does it look like from your perspective,
Yeah.
but like what does a night of this tend to look like?
Yeah, so I'll break this, at least in my area and the way we compete, into two different factions, right? So we have competitive major tournaments, and those where we're going and we're traveling, or someone's traveling, we have teams coming in, and that's when we are going to be fighting at our very hardest, bringing out the most damaging weapons, right? Like being like, the goal here is to win this at all costs. And, there's more higher risk with that. Sometimes what we do locally, and most teams just locally, is they'll do fight nights. Like we put on a show, we have fans come in, we sell tickets, but to some degree it's almost like competitive training, right? So in those one-on-one fights, I'm often going into those going, okay, I've been working on something for a while, let's see if I can get this to work. And if I win the fight, great. If I lose it, okay. But it's about putting on a good show, making sure the fans are really engaged, and then working on my own skill set. And then we match up with levels of skill. So sometimes I might be fighting a brand new guy who's first time in armor, and I'm going to be much nicer to that guy. We're going to work together, and it's almost like a performance, right, of together, where we're still fighting, but there's like little WWE moments where I'll have a guy in the corner, I'll be like, how you doing? He's like, I'm okay. I was like, okay, you can fight harder. He's all right, and he'll come back. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of this feeling of like, let's work together to make this a good story.
Yeah.
And then there's the competitive ones where I go, I couldn't care if there's an audience there or not. It's, we're here to win this and bring home gold. But a lot of those local ones are, and they really are. Where we're in New Hampshire, we're really lucky. Our gym is actually in an old mill, and it feels like a fight club. You go up four floor elevator, you go in this caged in room. It's very hot, and there's only 40 seats that in there, and it's like a real like underground feeling. And you get in there, and you step into that ring, and suddenly like, it's like stepping into a movie scene. Like suddenly you are that guy in an underground club who's going to fight this other man who's across from you holding an axe or a sword. And, and you get that feeling of like, it's the highlight of the week whenever you get to do it. And then you go home and you go back to regular life and you kind of go, wow, this is what I do. Right.
Right.
It's transformed me as a person, not just as a competitor, but like, there's a lot of things in my life that are hard, but nothing's ever as hard as this, right? Nothing ever as hard as fighting for 4 days and having teammates that rely on you. And, and I've always said, like, the thing with Boohurt is that it's the most honest sport I've ever seen, because there's very few rules, right? Like, there's very few things that, it's really about you're facing off against someone across from you, and who's the better man today is what ends up kind of being. And that's a really true feeling. Yeah. While doing with weapons, which is like super cool.
Yeah. I guess, Mike, for the fights themselves, if it is just like a one-on-one like kind of deal, how do you is it just the first one who taps out and is like, okay, I can't keep going?
Yeah, so so that is called a satisfaction match. We have had those. Okay. Where you fight until someone quits, and those are usually for like very specific reasons. But the two most common one-on-one fights, we have what are called a duel, and we have what's called either a pro fight or a night fight. They're the same thing, just different leagues. A duel is close as we have to fencing, so it'll be usually 1 minute rounds, and it's the most number of landed weapon strikes. Okay. So for those, you'll see lighter weapons, you'll see long sword, you'll see arming sword, you'll see fast flicky weapons, right? Bigger shields, because it's all about the defense and scoring points. Right. So you have people who have, one of my teammates is multiple-time world champion longsword fighter. That's pretty much all he does. Right, he trains for that particular discipline. And he does other stuff too, but that's his specialty. He's really good, but like that's what he does, right? Yeah. The other side, the pro fight, is the MMA match. So kicks, punches, throws, hits, strikes, all of it counts, and it's judged by 3 judges who are counting strikes, but also judging who dominated the ring, who had control of the ring, right? Like, some formats have some ground fighting. So once you go to the ground, you can fight for up to 7 to 10 seconds of ground fighting. There's one that has unlimited ground fighting. I think that kind of gets a little boring, because once it's very hard to get up. So like usually the guy down and you're like, okay, that's the whole point, but it is there. Yeah. So again, you bring out different weapons. So I'll fight with a heavier weapon in a pro fight because damage matters, right? Where points matter in the other one. So it's about that kind of feeling of matching your equipment to what you're doing. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite weapons? At least right now.
Yeah, maybe. So I fight primarily with 2 weapon sets. I fight with a punch shield, like I just showed, and a hand axe, which is what I have here. So here's my hand axe. This is one of the, my weapons. And as you can see, it's all like torn up and chopped up because again, this is not
Well
for show. This
used.
stuff gets, all the stickers are, whenever you go to a tournament, they check it for safety and they sticker it to make sure it's legal for that event. So I got stickers all over it. But so I'll usually fight with a hand axe and a shield, or I fight with a two-handed axe, usually a 4-foot axe. Which is my two specialties. I tend to be an axe fighter. I like axes. They are fun for me. I do it all. I train with everything, but those are kind of when I specialize up what we're doing, and it depends on the position I'm playing on the field on what I'll tend to take out for weaponry.
Yeah. Ugh, that's so cool. So, do you have any advice for anyone who would be looking to get into Boohurt? If they're listening to this and going, well, I want that to be me.
Yeah. So I think the best advice I have is, well, first of all, I'd say you can go to my YouTube channel. Woodchuck Knight is my YouTube channel. You can find me as Woodchuck Knight on Facebook. Feel free to reach out to me with questions as well. But the best thing to do is if you go to armoredcombatsports.com, there is we call a night finder there. You click on it. It shows you all the teams in the country. Find the closest team to you. If you're in the U.S., obviously, they actually have international teams there, but U.S. And then you'll find the closest team in the country and go meet them. Right? Go meet them and go try it out. The one thing I will tell you to do is do not buy anything. Do not buy any armor. Do not buy any weapons. It's so cool. Don't buy weapons at, I say like 6 months. Don't buy any armor. It's super tempting when you get into it to be like, I want the equipment. You don't know anything yet. And your teams will lead you towards what to get, what makes sense. And almost every team I've ever met will loan you gear. So I'll loan out my armor to somebody, let them try a match and be like, do you like this? Because, I've had people who train with us, they get in armor the first time, they get punched, they go, this is not for me. Okay, I'm glad you know that before you went and spent $2,000 on stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that's, and then we'll help people get into it and get involved and things like that. In most schools that I'm aware of in clubs, like they're all different levels. Like, again, I fight at a national, international level. We have fighters in our school who all they want to do is show up for fun shows and Renaissance fairs. That's totally fine. It's everywhere from like entry level beer league to, the high competitive we can, up to that national, international, world championship level. But it's about getting people involved, and we just like people to try it and have fun. If you're not having fun, don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, imagining someone choosing to put on armor in the middle of a oh god, my brain, a stage to have someone swing an axe at you, and you're like, I'm not really liking this.
I know a guy who spent a lot of money on a very fancy kit. It was beautiful, and he fought twice and goes, this isn't for me. And I go, I should have listened, man. Like, we don't want you to spend it. It's great now it helps someone else. Someone else got a great deal and got an armor cheaper. But like, and the thing is, like, it is expensive. It's expensive to get started. You're looking $2,000 to $3,000 probably all in. I do tell people that's a lot less than a dirt bike, right? It's a lot less than a lot of other hobbies that I've had in my life. I used to play tournament paintball. I spent way more on tournament paintball than I ever did in this. And the nice thing is, once you have your equipment, it lasts.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I have, since I started, upgraded all of my armor to a better set, but everything I had, I sold for what I bought it for, because it doesn't really degrade, as long as you take care of it.
Yeah.
It's, as long as the steel isn't broken, it's steel. Next guy can use it. And it kind of trickles down to newer fighters, then people specialize in what fits them a little bit better and custom stuff and things.
Yeah. That's so cool. I yeah, no, sorry. This is I'm really debating with myself right now if I want to check out a local league or not. And the answer is I might. I probably
you should do it. I think you should, because again, like, we've got people who just use foam sparring. They come in just do sparring with us with foam weapons and like essentially LARP weapons is what we train with, right? So it's kind of like just getting people involved and getting athletic. And with the really cool thing for me, particularly the sport, we talk about the tie into TTRPGs and gaming, is that, there are a lot of people in the gaming community who have not had the chance to experience sports, right? Based off and again, we're a huge spectrum. There's a bunch of different people, but there are a subset of people who go, well, like, I feel comfortable in this space and this is but I've never got that chance to be an athlete, right? And what better way to do something really nerdy, which is like being in armor and being a knight and getting to go out there and play, to try that out. And we've had people transform their lives. Like, I've had people come into our school who've never done anything in their life athletic, and they're like, this got me interested enough that I'll try it. And I've actually seen them improve the quality of their life and their health and their happiness overall, right? I think and it doesn't have to be fighting. You don't have to get all the way to. You can just do it for fun and train, and come to shows and be help out. And like, we have squires who help gear us up and stuff, and some of them love to fight, some of them just want to come help, but they like being part of the community. So it really is just a space that it's all inclusive.
I love that. That's wonderful. Also, the fact that there are just squires is
Yeah.
like, I honestly, even that sounds fun. Of being like, I just come here to help people put on their armor. I help hype them up. Like, that sounds great.
Yeah, we have a lot of people who do that, who come out. Either they're not interested in fighting. We've retired, since they've kind of retired out of it, or maybe like we've got people currently injured who go, hey, I'm going to help out for a while, right? Like, it's a space where like being a helper is valued because we know you're putting your time in. Right? If you come and ref, if you come and help, if you come and squad, like, we need those people just as much as we need the people. It's to some degrees, it's like a play, right? It's a play that's full contact and real, but we need all the stagehands to help out as well, because everybody's got to put the show together.
Exactly. That's so good. And like, especially like right now, right? I think having something that helps keep you active, having that kind of community, having people who you can just like have fun doing this with, but those are probably also going to be the people that are going to be around in your life, that'll be there for your best and worst moments. And that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, my school, we actually run a LARP out of our school too, a pretty large fantasy Warhammer based LARP. And a lot of the guys who are world champion fighters are going out dressed as orcs and stuff and playing on the weekend, right? Because it's just fun, and we get that whole community aspect. And it's the same thing. It's like, it's all crossover between this idea of like, what we're doing is playing, right? Like, and that playing could be sitting at a table with your friends, rolling dice and pretending to be like an elf warlock. It could be dressing up as a chaos god warrior fighting people with foam weapons, or it could be fighting in steel. It's all that idea of like, we're telling a story now, and how competitive and sport like you want to get depends on what you want to do, right? Like, I know there are definitely TTRPG tables where it's it's very by the book rule, and it's like almost a competitive way of playing.
Yeah,
I prefer the story style of playing. Like, that's my mindset. Like, so I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, you can get out of it whatever it is that you're looking to get out of it, that's so cool. If any of you have any other questions, please feel free to throw it in the chat. We only have a little bit more here. Darklight, I see your thing, and I will check on that for you. Thanks for letting me know. I guess before we close it out here, is there any story or anecdotes that you have from any recent tournaments or anything like that you think encapsulates like what makes this like such an amazing part of your life?
Yeah, I'll tell you two. I'll tell you please. One that is more. I'll tell you that. So one is one of the best days of my life, the World Championship, and I'll also tell you one that happened recently at a festival here in New Hampshire. So I'll do the New Hampshire one first. So we hold an event every year here in actually it's Massachusetts now. It's a New England event, but it's called Valhalla Battle Fest. And it's a 4-day fight festival. So it's not a tournament. It's not a camp where you're going to like train for 4 days. It's a celebration of the sport. So we have a bunch of tournaments for fun. We have a bunch of parties. We have, we did Wizard Night and Pirate Night where you dress up for parties. And, we have a huge camp that we all stay at. But we also do it that every year what's called Rookie Rumble. So Rookie Rumble is an event for any fighter who's been 2 years or less in armor. It's new rookies. And they come in and they do what we call the Rookie Rumble, which is close to the WWE Rumble, where you come in every 15 seconds, a new fighter comes in the ring. Until we had, I think, 35 new fighters this year were in it. Like, and it's just a mayhem of whatever, right? And then they also do a tournament called the Warlord Tournament, where basically it starts with like, you get randomly paired up with someone, you fight them one-on-one. If you lose, you join that person's team. And then it's 2-on-2. If you lose, you join that person's team. And it's 4-on-4 up until we have 16-on-16s, right? And the reason I want to share this is what's so cool about this is watching this as a veteran. And I don't get to do rumbles and rookie stuff, obviously, but I'm seeing people, for some of them, this is their first big tournament. For some of them, they're just at the edge of that rookie and they're starting to kind of be good. And those moments of victory and like success and where they overcame something or they survived a moment or they helped a teammate, and like you can see that to them in that moment, it's the most important thing in the world, right? Like in that little ring, there's nothing else that matters except that story. And then what I loved about it, because we did that, and we had a couple more nights, is for the rest of the weekend, I'm sitting around at parties and events in the tavern, and all you hear is these rookies telling the story of their battle, right? Telling the moments of glory. And it really is this moment where you go, oh, you've come into a new world. Like you've come into that place where you will forever have that. You'll ever have that moment where you did something so cool, right? Even if you never fight again, you do one of them. Like you get to go home and say, for the rest of my life, I fought in this.
Yeah.
And that's something that's unique to this sport, is that it allows everyone who can, get in armor to get there and do that. And then the kind of the counterpoint to that is the highlight for me, of my career, and I don't know if we'll ever get better than this, is fighting in Spain at the World Championships. In the 16 on 16s. So we were, so basically riot lines fighting each other. It's, against each other. And the strategy is pretty simple. You're trying to hold the line, and if someone makes a mistake, you try to pull them back behind your line and basically chop them to death at that point, right? Like get them behind the line and cut them down. Well, we've been doing that. We've been winning pretty good. We get to the finals against Spain, who was, in their home country and their home court,
Right.
and they're the team. And I overextended with a punch. Someone grabbed my shield and ripped me into the backfield. So now I'm in, enemy lines. I got pushed up against a rail, and I had I had one guy holding me and three guys with 6-foot halberds just smashing me. And in that moment, I had this feeling of like, this is horrible. Like this hurts. This is bad. And it was this moment of like decision where I could sit down now and be out, and that would be totally reasonable. It's a 4-on-1. I'm in trouble. Or I have taken 4 of the 16 fighters who have their attention on me. And how much am I willing to risk? Now, at a local event, I wouldn't do it, but at a world championship, it's a world championship. And I took a beating. I mean, I bruised all over, nothing broken, but just battered. I could barely walk home that night. But because I held up for that long, we ended up pushing through and winning. And so that was the moment where I won my world championship gold medal, is that moment of just willing to take the thing for my team.
Yeah.
That day, we did the procession to the championship, and as we're all lined up, we're all wearing, what's this, Team USA? I'm in USA colors. I'm actually wearing the USA shirt now, but I had the full tabard on, representing my country. My captain comes up to me, and he puts a black hood on me. And what the black hood means in my school is it's the executioner hood. My local team's the executioners, and it's our version of the black belt, right? It's our version of the made man. You can't earn it. There's no rules for it. There's no way. The team has to decide to give it to you. And I think only 6 of them or 7 have been given out ever. And it's basically saying you have done the thing that made you one of us, right? Forever. So I get the hood. I wear the hood up onto the podium while I'm given my gold medal. And then after that, we were taken to the top of the castle to walk up this huge flight of steps. And in fact, some guys were injured enough that we had to help carry them up the steps, right? And at the top of the castle, we were knighted by an actual Spanish order, the Order of the Drawn Sword. So in that day, like I won 2 world championships medals, I was given my hood, and I was knighted as a knight. And like to this day, it's like you've got my kids being born, my marriage to my wife, and that. And like there's nothing else, right? So, and the reason I share those 2 stories as contrast is one is a magical experience that I can't say will ever happen to anyone. I don't know if you'll ever get that much all in one day. But the same feeling I had in those moments, I saw that in the eyes of the rookies, right? Because in their world, in their moment, they had those moments of standing up against 16 people and surviving, right? Of being that person who held their team together, of celebrating their other teammates who did. Like there's that moment of there's nothing more real to me than being in that list and saying like, that's it. This is the whole world. And what I do here will tell the story of my heroism or my failure, and after that event in Spain, I actually found one of the halberders, one of the Spanish guys, and who had been very dangerous and chopping me up. And we traded tabards. So I gave him my USA tabard, and I took his Spanish one home. And so the Spanish one's hanging in my training room next to my hood and my world championship medals. So those are my 2 kind of moments of stories that I think matter.
God. That is That is amazing. That is so wonderful. Like, that is, God, that's a hard. Oh my, I'm sorry. I got emotional listening to that.
No, I well
Like,
up when I talk about it. It was a moment in my life that I sat there and said, I can't believe. And again, I'm under the it's the closest I'll ever get to being in the Olympics, right? We're in the USA,
yeah.
competing for my own country against other countries around the world. Fighting against Spain and Denmark and Germany and Moldova, which was really weird. They were a team there. They were like, they showed up. And I was like, this is awesome. So, but like all these different countries that 40 countries or so, I think, were there at that one, and just being able to take home gold for the USA was really, really amazing.
I'm imagining the moments of like walking up, like up the castle, having to help carry each other.
Yeah,
like
we had to help carry up a couple guys who were so heat exhausted and whatever.
Yeah.
And the hood is wool. It's a full wool hood, like a whole execution hood. So I'm wearing it, and like it was hard to wear. It was sweat pouring down. But that suffering made it better. It was like I had to walk those stairs wearing that hood, going, I'm now willing to do the thing it means to be in this community as this level of fighter, to be a named man, right? Like that's kind of the story of like my greatest highlight.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, everyone, if this didn't convince you to go and watch Chuck's stuff, I don't know what would. You should definitely head on over to YouTube and follow Woodchuck Knight. The link is in the description of this video. If you're watching on YouTube, and if you're watching on Twitch, hey, I already put the link in, so you can go click it there.
Ken, I got one more thing for you. I do want to share this real quick.
Yes,
I told you I was on a conference call with a Scandinavian podcaster earlier today. I said, "Oh, I'm on the Kobold Press, podcast later today." He goes, "Oh, what amazing!" And he literally reaches over and pulls out the large version of this
of Deep Magic.
Of Deep Magic, and I mean, it is tattered, it is marked, it's in its own special binding, and he just goes, "This is my favorite Magic book." And I was like, I was so and this happened an hour ago. Like this was like, I just happened to mention it. And like, in the reason I'm so happy to be working with all of you is that, again, there's a crossover between the two worlds, but like the same passion in the way that you all work within this space and developing something truly unique, but creator focused and human focused is, I think, really distinct compared to a lot of the gaming companies I've talked with and experienced and all that. Like, again, there's a lot of huge games out there, but there aren't a lot where I feel like the people are as involved in it and really, making the story their own. And I just thought it was so cool that I just had it. I had it next to me. I was like, no, I have it too. And we pulled up the books. And again, he has the full one. I got the pocket guide with me here. But I just, but I just thought it was really cool to have that moment. So, everyone I've mentioned to that I'm doing this Kobold Press, there has not been a single story of like that isn't wildly positive about your company, your products, and your people. So I'm so happy to be doing this with all of you, and I'm so happy to be on the show today.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I'm passing on every single word to everyone else because I know we were literally just talking about you yesterday when talking about Book of Blades, which is coming out soon.
Yes.
And so like we're all so incredibly excited to work with you as well, and that kind of passion from everyone, our community, is like what helps drive us to do what we do, because we want to be making the things that makes people excited, that drives their imagination, that drives them to each other and connects all of us in our imaginations, but also at our tables and even through interviews and just talking about these things that we love. So thank you so much.
Yep.
And thank all of you for sitting here watching this with us, and maybe you've been inspired like me to maybe check out some of the armored combats near you. So go do it. But also be safe and make sure that it's a thing you actually want to do. I'm not forcing you. But yes, that's another Kobold Chats for you this week. Thank you all so much for being here. Don't forget to go check out the Northlands Kickstarter, which, hey, guess what? You can find it on Kickstarter. And be sure to take care of yourself, everyone. Yes, thank you all so much. So I will give you all the rest of your day. And don't forget to go out, be bold, be brave, be valiant. And I'll see you all, not next week, because I will actually be out for an awards festival. But after that, I'll see you again. So, see y'all.